Hi, welcome to session 4. Now, by now, you should be well on your way to producing a half decent final draft of your design, and should also have now getting together a list of plants which you could use. Now, as long as your final draft is reasonable, it doesn't have to be perfect, but as long as you can read it, and what you should have is your design, and what you should have on it are the position of your plants, and each one will have a number, and if you use the same plant twice you can have the same number, and that number will correspond on your little chart. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the chart you've done for me with the plant list. So number 1, that could be lavender, Hidcote, nice blue flowers, nicely scented in a herb book somewhere, and that number 1 is there, and maybe even over here. So each thing on your final draft will have on it a number which will refer to whichever plant you've got on your list. And again, 12 plants is good. On your final draft, you will also have on your scale, and you will also have an orientation as to where it faces. The posh name, as we said earlier in session 3, was recognized conventions. Okay, so it's important that you've got that. And as you're chugging that way, you get into the final bits and pieces of it. Then before you completely finish it, you need to start thinking about it, or add to that, what's it going to look like in about 5 years' time. Now, when you see the designs at some of the big shows, this is where I get contentious, but I'll be contentious. The thing was, when I first started, I used to spend a bit of time with some of the old school gardeners. I spent a bit of time, very luckily, with Pete Seabrook, Jeff Hamilton. And they would say, look, that's the best it's ever going to be. Never going to get any better than that. You want a garden to evolve a bit, so you've got to think ahead. Okay, that's why there's a little watch there for. That's a question of time. So think ahead. What will it look like in 5 years' time? Okay, it's important to see how your plant's going to evolve. Okay, also, who's going to look after it? If you've got lots of pruning and lots of maintenance to do to it, if it's roses, who's pruning it? If it's part of the actual thing, if it's for therapy, great. You've got some maintenance in there that the actual guys can do. Fantastic. But if the people can't garden, then you've really got to think, has it got to have a low maintenance aspect of it? So you may need to revisit that. So this is things that you might want to look at. In your final design, you will start to get the feel of whether it's going to work or isn't it going to work. Okay. So can it be maintained? Who's going to look after it? So as you're putting together your final draft, you may still you're going to keep your final kind of flavour, but you may decide to, may have to change plants at the last minute, it's called subbing. You may have to sub a plant because it's not going to work, okay? One other thing you need to look for, this is where I'll scare you a bit. Colour wheel, okay? So, I've seen a lot of different designs, and it doesn't really matter whether you want to go with it or not. Certainly if you want it to work, then opposing colours tend to work really well and pick each other up. So you could put a dash of blue in with a bit of orange. The classic thing with that is you got your marigolds there and a bit of lobelia around it. Lovely, bob on. And that's old school, and that works really well. So anything opposite tends to work really well and to pick anything up. Failing that, you could blend in your colours just to make a particular theme. So you've got oranges and reds there for a bit of heat there, and you've got your blues and your purples for a little bit of coolness there. I've got yellow at the top there, as long as it doesn't fall off. There we go. Yellow's good and white is good because what it does is it lights the colours, it lights the garden. So in the daytime, you can't see it. At twilight and afternoon, oh yes you can, very bright. So colours are important. I have included a colour wheel just to have a look at it, okay? It's important to pay a little bit of attention to it just to get it right. Also the thing that I would do now is also when you're considering your final draft, don't necessarily have your design to what I call wedding cakey, okay? Try and get some height at the front of the design, okay, so that as you're looking around, it changes the vistas, okay? What you're going to try and get them to walk around, okay? If you can see everything from there, oh, that's nice, and walk off. We used to do that. If someone had done that to my design, or done it to our designs where it used to work. Oh, well, that's all right. You've failed. Okay. If you walk around and it looks awesome, that's ideal. If you walk around and even if they think, oh, it's crap, I don't like that, you've got something out of that. You've got a reaction. You've got something there. A piece of their passion. That's what I want. I want a piece of that. So it's important so that you try and get different. So try and get some different heights in it so people can look around. A bit of translucency so that you can see. You get a bit of 3D going on there. So look at the colours and look at that and really think about it. So when you're putting together your final draft, try and almost visualize it in your head. It's really important that you try and get that right. Okay, so you've got to do the what I call the proper nuts and bolts, which is you need to get the sizes right and you need to get bits. Take your time. Okay, take your time. Even if you don't get it finished in time, I would rather you showed me a half finished thing than something which isn't going to work. You've got it in your heart. That's the best I can do, Michael, and that's all I want. Okay, so put your final design together and start to get it together. Look at your colours, and in the final session we'll look at that and see how that works. Okay.